how's it going everyone? Welcome back to Mission Pixel. Today is another creator spotlight video and I am with the lovely Eleana Overett. Overett.
Yeah, you get over it.
Yep. And yeah, so she does videos about London town and runs the channel That London Life.
It is, you've done your homework.
Yeah, I know. I've Googled
well,
something.
That's at least the minimum.
Yeah. So I've have to ask, what made you decide to make a channel about London?
It started as an everything channel, sort of a variety channel, 5 years ago, 2013. And then when I moved to England, because I had been living in America, I thought, well, I'll make something that's more travel related, because everyone loves travel. I love travel, let's do that. And then I realized I didn't go anywhere, basically. I was just like living life in London and I didn't have time to actually go places. So there wasn't enough to make content about. But then I realized that London is travel. So many people want to come here. So many people come to stay here. So there was just so much that I could make out of this city. And that's why I chose London.
Okay. So how do you find your interesting spots that you make your videos about?
A lot of them are based on walks and things that I did as a kid with my parents. We used to come in and do day trips together. And so from memory, I would just pick a spot that I remembered and then make more of it. Other things, it can be just like reading books, because obviously I read quite a lot of history, things to do in London, interesting facts, things you don't know about London books. And as soon as one thing sparks an idea, I just go for that area and I'll just research around it to see what I want to do.
Okay, that's interesting. So before the video, you mentioned you tend to go to a place and sort of walk around and see if there's anything interesting there after you've done any research.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot that you would miss by just reading.
Yeah.
London is meant to be experienced. So if I'm walking down the street, if I'd done the research beforehand, I might pick these two things that I found that were interesting. But as I'm walking down, I might be like, but what is that? And that's how I choose the rest of the stuff that I do. So I do some preliminary research and then I go and actually see the place to make sure that I haven't missed anything that other people would have questions about.
I wanted to talk about the London Small YouTubers group.
Yeah.
Because you started it.
I did, yeah.
And I read a little bit on like the about page and things like that of why you decided to start the group and everything. So you're like looking for people to work with, right? Or collaborate with, or
just make friends with, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I was living in Mississippi for 3 years, and before that I hadn't actually lived in London, just outside of it. So I didn't know anybody here when I got here. And you know, I got a new job, but I didn't have friends outside of the job, and I thought that YouTube was something where I could actually make those friends, because I'd been to Playlist Live in America and I'd made loads of friends through YouTube that I'd met at Playlist Live. So I thought, great, I'm going to do that in London. I'm going to find my people with the same interests as me. And then when I was turning up, I just planned to apply to everything, you know, go to everything, go to all the meetups, meet more people. But it wasn't quite the hub of activity that I thought it was going to be.
yeah.
And so I don't know, it's unlike me to think, oh, I'll just do it myself, but that was the thought that I had. So
Okay.
yeah, I just made a Facebook group and then started to attend the events that I could go to and just told them about it. And eventually word of mouth just grew the group on its own.
Yeah, and it's really blown up recently.
Yes,
I feel,
we're now
like,
over 1,000 members.
Yeah.
It's a different landscape in London Small YouTubes now than it used to be, because it used to be quite close-knit. It was all the people who would go to the same workshops together. Obviously now it's grown more. You can't get 1,000 people together, obviously. No. But it's also been running now for 3 years. So the people who were there at the beginning, you know, as the case with lots of small YouTubers, people gave up doing it, or they've moved away, or, you know, all these kinds of different reasons. So there's different people involved. And I guess it's not exactly the close friendship group that it was before, but what it has meant is that people have their own friendship groups within the group. So I can't see it as the same way anymore, where literally LSY, we're the friendship group, because now it's like this person has made this group out of LSY, this person has made this group out of LSY. So, you know, it's there for a different purpose now.
And I've met a lot of fantastic people through LSY. Actually, most of the creator spotlight videos were through that, and yeah, most of the people I work with nowadays is through that.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, I think it's how. What are your plans for the future? So, because it's growing a lot more than probably you anticipated, right?
It has, and also for what I've had time for, I obviously took on these other admin people to help me along with it because it was getting a bit too much for me. But even now, obviously, like 3 years in, you know, things have changed, and I've got more things that I'm doing, and so I have less time to spend on it, and other people have had less time to spend on it, and I don't want it to die out just because of us having not enough time.
Yeah.
So our plan at the moment is to get everyone who organises LSY together for a meeting to like see what we can do, see how we can bolster the community again, see how we can put on events for people again, but then I think eventually like work out how to hand it over to people, you know?
Yeah, that's the toughest thing.
Because it's hard to let go of something that has been your baby and like has done so much for you. Like my career, part of the reason I have my career now is because of LSY. I got it through that. So it's hard to give it up, but at the same time, like I would love LSY to continue in the same way that it has done, with a lot of, you know, activity and a lot of passion. And as soon as the people at the top, you know, go, oh, I can't be bothered today, that's when it, you know, I feel like at that point it will be a sign where like let's change hands to somebody who's got that drive to do things.
Yeah, I have this. I have a very similar problem because I'm a scout leader.
Yeah.
And I've done it. This is my 3rd year doing it now, and it's part of that getting a bit tired of planning everything, doing everything myself, and sort of looking for somebody to pass it on.
Yeah.
And usually you promote through, you know, within and like get people and train them, but it's tricky, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to know the moment.
Yeah.
Freshly clicked, everybody.
Yeah. Subtle hashtag not sponsored, isn't that what they say?
No, purely by accident, can you believe?
My God, okay. He really had to mount the curb there.
Not a lot of rumour shortage.
Yeah, so one of my last points I wanted to really touch up on is since you clearly are very good at networking with people and getting to know everyone and sort of working with others.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask if you have any tips for anybody watching or anybody interested for sort of, because I've seen a video recently by Peter McKinnon who he said YouTube is the loneliest job. To which
it can be.
I partially agree but partially disagree, because a large portion of my friends that I talk to on a daily basis now I met through YouTube and things like that. And so I was wondering if you have any tips on, you know, meeting new people around, and maybe not necessarily from London, so something apart from, you know, because you could easily say, yeah, just visit the London street.
Yeah, it's a bit tougher if you're not in London.
Yeah.
There are like groups out there. There are Facebook groups that are like in multiple countries and cities. So, for example, Australia, massive YouTube community because they have a massive and popular Facebook group, and I'm sure that there are groups like this in other countries. So, and if you don't have one, start one, because people might be searching for it because there's nothing there, they don't start it themselves. But there have been all these people who've been fragmented and who would have liked it. So, you know, if it's not where you are, make it.
Yeah.
So as a way of finding other people, meetup.com, I think that's also like a global meetup site, so that's helpful, and that's how we've gotten quite a few people to come and find us.
Yeah, that's actually how I found.
Yeah, so finding people on meetup.com is a great thing, and going to these conventions that are put on, if you are, you know, able to afford to go to the VidCons and somewhere in the cities, also great places to network. But in terms of networking, it's definitely tough. It's probably taking me about 5 years to build confidence. So I'm almost 30 now, and it's taken me these past 5 years to really get good at it, get comfortable with it. And in many ways I'm still not. There are many days where I'm still not in the mood. The way I've found to do it better is go in prepared with questions.
Okay.
So if you find that you often like turn up somewhere with a bunch of people and you're like, I don't know what to say to them.
Yeah.
honestly, preparing in advance, it might seem lame, but like having these questions that you know you can go into, having subject matters that you want to talk to about them, even if it's thinking, right, in advance, I'm going to talk about the Shane Dawson series with people, or I want to talk about this event that's coming up and have people heard of it, or I have this question about a camera. You know, think of these things in advance so that when you're faced with this other person, you can be like, this,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So if conversation's the problem, then I guess there's that. But I think lastly, it's having the realization and having the knowledge that you might be going in nervous to talk to other people, but so many other people are too.
Yeah.
And it might seem quite generic advice and said before, but honestly, like, it took a while for me to realize that I didn't have to wait for other people to come to me.
Yeah.
I could go to other people,
Yeah.
and that I wouldn't be bothering them, they'd be thankful for it.
Yeah.
So, and it seems really simple, and it probably would seem quite simple as well to an extroverted person, but for someone who's more introverted, like, it took a while to get that realization, and as soon as I did and I was going for it, you know, then I thought, right, then I'll start a pillar, so I'll approach this person and have a chat. So
Yeah.
that was probably one of the better realizations I've ever had.
Yeah, I think that's a common thing in most sort of meetups or conventions or anything like that. There's a lot of people that go there that are not extroverts. They've gone there, they're there, but then it's just basically a bunch of really awkward people in one room.
Exactly.
It's a good way of thinking about it, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? If you think everyone's awkward, then nobody's awkward.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, definitely. Go up to groups of people if you want to like make a big group of friends at once. Go up to people who are on their own because they might be looking the same as you. Like everybody, you know, no one's going to say no.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Exactly.
Zoom.
Well, it's been very interesting.
Yeah. And wet.
And wet. Well,
London.
Only slightly. It's not that bad. It was worse this morning because this morning I was woken up by like the loudest rain I've ever heard in my entire life. I thought my house was coming apart. But yeah, it's been fantastic. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for spotlighting me.
All right, everyone. So this has been a Creator Spotlight with Eleana here. She's a fantastic creator. I highly recommend watching her videos. They're really entertaining. And if you don't live in London or you do live in London and want to find out more, definitely click through the link and get watching, get subscribed.
Yeah, definitely.
Do all of that stuff.
It rains less often in my videos.
Yes, that's true. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, yay. We paddle. Whoa.